Sunday dinner at the marble table. Houston, Texas, present day. The gumbo had been simmering since Thursday night. Miss Ruby stood over the ancient black pot in her little yellow kitchen on Sour Street, 3rd Ward, stirring slow like her mama taught her, clockwise for blessings, counterclockwise to chase away bitterness. Okra, crab, shrimp, andouille, a roux the color of midnight in Louisiana. She had spent her last $300 on the ingredients, money saved for her light bill, because her only child, Jasmine Marie Charles Esquire, was getting married Saturday night at a mansion in River Oaks, and Ruby wanted to bring something nobody else could. She had raised Jasmine alone after Jasmine's daddy got 25 for armed robbery when the girl was 4. Ruby worked breakfast and dinner shifts in white folks' kitchens, came home smelling like bleach and bacon grease, and still found time to press Jasmine's hair on Saturday nights and check her homework by the light of a street lamp shining through the blinds. Every Sunday, no matter how tired, Ruby cooked a big pot and fed whoever knocked. Neighbors, cousins, the boys fresh out of the wall with nowhere to go. Jasmine used to sit on the counter swinging her legs, stealing bites of sausage, calling it Mama's Church. But that was a long time ago. Now Jasmine was 34, a senior associate at Baker Botts, engaged to a man named Preston who pronounced New Orleans like New Orleans and thought 3rd Ward was a dangerous rumor. When Ruby offered to bring a pot of gumbo for the rehearsal dinner, Jasmine had hesitated. "Mama, they hired a James Beard chef. It's plated, 5 courses. I'm not talking about replacing nobody's plates, baby. Just a little taste to home for the family table." A long pause. Then Jasmine's practiced polite voice. "Let me check with the planner." Friday evening, Ruby carried the pot anyway, wrapped in beach towels, riding 2 buses with it between her feet like a newborn. The River Oaks mansion looked like a wedding cake itself. White columns, chandeliers dripping crystals, valets in vests. Ruby walked through the service entrance because the front steps felt too tall for her knees anyway. Inside, Jasmine was radiant in cream silk, hair blown bone straight, diamonds in her ears that cost more than Ruby's house. When she saw the pot, her smile froze. "Mama, we talked about this. I just brought a little, for us, for after." Jasmine pulled her mother into a side room lined with antique books nobody read. "Mama, please, it's going to smell up the whole house. People are vegan, keto, gluten-free, and Preston's parents already think—" She stopped herself, but Ruby heard the rest loud and clear. "Already think I'm the help." Ruby looked at her daughter, really looked, and saw a stranger wearing Jasmine's face. The little girl who once fell asleep with roux on her cheek was gone. Ruby nodded once. "I understand, baby." She walked back to the kitchen, told the catering captain to keep the pot warm if anybody wanted it, and left out the same service door she came in. Nobody noticed her go except one dishwasher, a skinny boy from Honduras, who slipped her a bottle of water for the bus. Saturday night, the wedding was everything Jasmine wanted it to be. String quartet, oyster tower, a signature cocktail called the Charles Ever After. Guests toasted the couple under a ceiling of real roses flown in from Ecuador. Ruby watched the live stream on her cracked phone, sitting on her plastic-covered sofa in the same dress she wore to church, pot of gumbo now cold on the stove. She didn't cry. She was too old for that. She just turned the fire off and went to bed. 6 months later. The marble table arrived on a Tuesday. Jasmine's marriage had cracked faster than creme brulee. Texts Preston sent to a paralegal went viral. The firm put Jasmine on indefinite leave. The River Oaks house was in his name. She came home to Sour Street with 2 Louis Vuitton suitcases and eyes swollen like she'd been stung. Ruby didn't ask questions. She just heated a bowl of gumbo she'd frozen the week after the wedding, still good, gumbo only gets better with time, and set it in front of her daughter. Jasmine stared at the bowl like it might bite her. "I can't eat this, Mama. I haven't had real food in weeks." Ruby sat across from her. "Eat. Jasmine took one spoonful, then another. Tears started falling straight into the bowl, seasoning it more. It tastes like childhood. It tastes like Sunday, Ruby corrected. That first night back, Jasmine slept in her old twin bed under the same chenille spread. Ruby sat up until the sky turned purple, listening to her child cry herself to sleep like when she was 9 and her daddy got moved to Huntsville. Sunday came. Ruby did what she had always done. She cooked. 3 pots this time. Gumbo, red beans, greens with smoked turkey. Word travels fast in the 3rd Ward. By noon, folding chairs lined the driveway. Men who'd been locked up 20 years showed up with their parole papers still crisp in their pockets. Miss Lorraine from next door brought her famous peach cobbler. Somebody hooked up speakers and played Frankie Beverly. Kids ran between legs like it was 1998 again. Jasmine watched from the porch in one of Ruby's old house dresses, hair wrapped in a scarf, no makeup, looking 12 years old, and 100 at the same time. Ruby handed her a ladle. "Come, stir. Your wrist's stronger than mine now." Jasmine stepped down into the yard barefoot. People greeted her like she'd never left. A man named Rodney, who did 15 for a crime he didn't commit, hugged her so hard she disappeared in his arms. "Miss Jasmine, you still fine as ever. Your mama saved my life with this gumbo when I got home last year. Fed me every Sunday till I got on my feet." One by one, they told her, quiet, no judgment, how Miss Ruby had been feeding half the block every Sunday since the wedding that wasn't. How she never mentioned Jasmine's name with anything but pride. How the marble table people never came looking when the camera stopped flashing. By 4 o'clock, the pots were empty, the sun was low, and Jasmine was sitting on the steps beside her mother, both of them greasy and full and quiet. "I threw away everything that mattered," Jasmine said finally. "No, baby," Ruby answered, wiping her hands on a dish towel older than Jasmine. "You just took the long way home." Jasmine looked at the empty pots. "Can I help next Sunday?" "You gon' do more than help. You gon' cook. Your hand's bigger than mine now." That night, they stayed up until 2 a.m. Ruby taught her how to make roux the old way. No shortcuts, no light brown nonsense. Jasmine burned the first batch black as tar. They laughed until they couldn't breathe. The first real laugh either of them had in years. A year later. The sign went up in July, hand-painted by Miss Lorraine's nephew. Miss Ruby's Sunday table. Everybody eats, 12 till the pot's dry. Inside the little house on Sour Street, the kitchen had been expanded. Donations from former inmates who now had good jobs, a GoFundMe Jasmine started that raised $43,000 before she shut it down because Mama don't need nobody's pity. Folding tables stretched from the living room to the carport. Every Sunday, at least 60 people came. Black, brown, white, straight out of the penitentiary, straight out of River Oaks, curious after seeing it on the news. Jasmine, no longer Esquire, just Jasmine again, wore an apron that said, "Kiss the cook," and meant it. One Sunday in October, a black Maybach pulled up to the curb. Out stepped Preston's mother, Mrs. Harrington, in pearls and a linen dress, looking like she'd taken a wrong turn somewhere around the museum district. The yard went quiet. She walked straight to Ruby, who was ladling greens into a styrofoam plate. "Miss Ruby," she said, voice shaking just a little, "I was wrong about everything. May I have a plate?" Ruby looked at her a long time. Then she smiled the way Sunday smiles, slow and warm and certain. "Child, pull up a chair. We got plenty." Miss Harrington sat between Rodney and a teenage girl on house arrest, took the plate with both hands like it was communion, and ate until tears ran down her cheeks into the gumbo. Jasmine watched from the doorway, arms crossed, eyes shining. Later, when the sun went down and the last pot was scraped clean, mother and daughter stood on the porch, sweeping crumbs into the grass. "You proud of me, Mama?" Jasmine asked, voice small. Ruby put an arm around her grown daughter's shoulders. "Baby, I was always proud. Just took you a minute to come sit at the table where you belonged." They stayed there until the street lights came on, fireflies blinking like little bitty blessings over Sour Street, the smell of rue and redemption thick in the humid Houston air. And every Sunday after, the pots stayed full, the door stayed open, and the marble table people learned what the folding chair people had always known. Love don't need 5 courses. Sometimes it just needs one good pot, a long-handled spoon, and a mama who never stopped stirring.